This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, Sins of the Father, Part 13. When we left off, Nigel's memorial service was held, and his 5 children were present. They'd been introduced to the family, and they were all back at the St. James estate, having that crucial conversation with their mother, Annabelle, while Nigel's children were finding out all about their mother and her history with their father. The family was not so patiently waiting for the kids to return to the banquet room so that they could actually get to know them, for Catherine to return so that they could get on with the reading of the will in the video. Also missing was Big Wood and True. Big Wood had carried True out of the room. He told her that he had some information for her. But first, he needed to remind her who he was, and he did. When they were done, True asked, "Now what, Wood?" Big Wood said, "Apparently we got bigger issues than I realized, but we're going to have to table that. I told you when you took this job, you're going to have to stay one step ahead of whoever the head is, as long as you're the right hand. You can't ever find yourself in the position that Amir's in right now. Nobody's saying it out loud, but everybody's looking at him sideways. That nigga got one foot on a banana peel. And if I had to guess, he gonna do whatever he got to keep his head in his position. Don't ever get too comfortable, little mama. Emotions are too high. Nobody's thinking clearly, which means you gotta be the one thinking with your head and not your heart. Once Rennie gets that address out of Jeff, you gonna have to be ready to strike." When Melissa was missing, Acevedo told Q that she had friends in high places. It's no coincidence that Melissa's having these dreams, that she followed Maribel, that she tried to follow Donovan. If you play this right, you'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You'll rescue Donovan, and you'll get Q out of a position he doesn't want. Meanwhile, in the sitting room, Annabelle's children have silently listened to her entire story. Before she started, she told them to hold all their questions until the end, and they did. And they've got lots of questions, and they're peppering her with them. Well, everybody except for Sincere. Saint asked, "So, at what point you realized you was messing with a kingpin, Ma?" And Simone said, "So all this time you was forewarning us about ain't-ish niggas? You really should have been telling us not to be ain't-ish women?" And Chantal asked, "Mommy, what was broken in you that you'd even be interested in a man that much older than you who was already married?" Star said, "Didn't nothing have to be broken in her? She saw a man who was caked up and was spending. The question should be, what was wrong with Daddy that he wanted a woman that young? And why was he out here pursuing other women when he had a whole wife? People always blaming the victim. It's always the woman's fault. She ain't owe Catherine no loyalty. He the one who took vows." Chantal said, "That may be, but when you respect yourself, there are just some things you don't do." Sincere said, "Now ain't that the pot calling the kettle black?" Simone said, "They both was wrong, but that's water under the bridge. I want to know why you was so focused on you and what you could get, and not at all focused on how this was going to affect your children. It's bad enough you had multiple children with a man who didn't want them, but you ain't even secure our future. Come on now. You was hustling backwards. You let Daddy play in your face. You cannot be surprised that I like women." Saint said, "So what are our options?" And then Annabelle said, "Your father left something for me. I don't know what it is. And the choices are simple. I can split what he left me 6 ways, but I'd also have to use that to find somewhere else to live and get at least 1 vehicle." Star said, "Wait a minute. Daddy ain't even leave you a house or a car?" "You right, Simone. Mommy was definitely hustling backwards." Chantel said, "Wait, I must have misunderstood. Are you saying that Daddy didn't leave us anything? Nothing?" Sincere said, "Nothing. Zilch." Chantal said, "Then how are we supposed to pay for school? Eat?" Sincere said, "Catherine paid for our educations. She set up a fund. But other than that, we're on our own." Saint said, "Speak for yourself. I got a job." And then Annabelle said, "And that leads me to option 2. I can keep the funds he left me, and you 5 can join the St. James organization, fulfilling whatever roles Catherine designates for you. The organization will take care of your every need. You'll have access to all of the resources that they have available. And life as you know it will never be the same. And then they started peppering her with more questions. Chantal asked, so I'd have to be a criminal? I can't do that. I'm out. Star said, well, I'm in. Where do I sign up? And does it make all these fine men available to me? Annabelle said, hold on. It's all of you or none of you. Saint said, but I'm already in. Annabelle said, and Catherine will cut you out. Simone asked, what about school? Will we have to drop out? Will I have to break up with Autumn? Annabelle said, obviously, education is important to Catherine. If she's the one who's been paying for you all to go to school, and you'll have to ask her. I don't know how they feel about the LGBT ABC community. Then Saint said, you ain't got no questions, Sincere? Sincere said, nah, I've been holding this family down all this time. I'm sure I'm gonna have to keep holding this family down. Star said, he think he's slick. I saw you talking to Catherine. She probably told you everything. Annabelle said, you talked to her already? What'd she say? Sincere said, she clarified that most of what we've had has been because of her, and that she's willing to share everything that our father left her with us. But in order to do that, two things gotta happen. Y'all four, and he pointed at his three sisters and his mother, gotta get some act right. And you, and he pointed at his mother, gotta tell us everything. And I hope you told us everything, because this whole damn place is wired for video and sound. Meanwhile, in Catherine's suite, Catherine was watching everything going on in the study and listening to every word spoken. She said, I think that boy, he's going to do his father proud. Amir said, I think so too. You think she's going to be able to get them three girls to get with the program? Catherine said, she'd better. Amir said, you think she going to tell him that you threatened to kill her? Catherine said, that I did what? Amir said, you know what I mean. Catherine said, no, I don't. I ain't never threatened nobody. Amir said, you think she gonna tell them that her life is on the line? Catherine said, young man, say what you mean and mean what you say. I made her a promise that I can absolutely keep. And if she is stupid enough to tell her children that they need to join the family's organization to keep her alive, then I hope that they choose not to, just so I can put one between her damn eyes. Amir chuckled and asked, and when do you plan to tell the rest of the family your plan? Catherine said, after Sincere and Saint handle that little business for me. Amir asked, and when do you plan on breaking up this little family reunion of theirs? Catherine said, right after you explain to me what exactly possessed you to leave my husband to his own devices. And before you say anything about his instructions, I want you to be cognizant of my instructions. Amir said, Cat, I know that you told me. Catherine said, I'm not Cat right now. I am Mrs. St. James. Amir said, you're right. I apologize, Mrs. St. James. You told me to never let him out of my sight. But no matter how many times I told Mr. St. James that it was a bad idea to move around in the world without security, he was always more concerned with keeping his secret in his D-wet. When Catherine turned her back to Amir, he said, Mrs. St. James, look at me. When Catherine turned back around, Amir said, but I was always watching. That's got to be obvious. That's how you know most of what you know. And just like you kept what you knew to yourself, he kept what he knew to himself. Catherine said, what's that supposed to mean? Amir said, at some point he figured out I was spying on him for you. And why? And he started keeping things from me, ducking off and shaking me, sending me on wild goose chases. Catherine asked, and how long had that been going on? Amir said, since I told you that I thought he was on to us. I know what you're thinking. I know what everybody's thinking. Nobody said it, but I can feel it. I did not set him up. As crazy as all this is, I love that man. He was one of my best friends. I would have given up my own life to save his. I did everything I could to find him. And when I get my hand on the Thomases, they'll be meeting their adopted son in hell. Because had they stayed put, I would have found them. I don't know what Jeff had to tell them to get them to blow town like that. but I'm going to keep telling you I had nothing to do with this. Catherine asked, why didn't you call me and tell me that he was missing? Amir said, because I needed to believe I was going to find him, and I was going to find him alive. Catherine asked, then why weren't you on the first thing smoking to Trinidad to tell me that he was dead? Why even put me in a situation where Bella had to try to figure out how to tell me in the same breath that not only was my husband dead, but he had a secret family that she didn't think I knew about? Amir said, because I didn't want to see this look in your eyes. I didn't want to see this pain. I didn't then and I don't now want to have this conversation. You got to believe me. I had nothing to do with this. I had nothing to gain because I had nothing to lose. When Catherine raised one eyebrow, Amir said, when Andy gave Idra his blessing, Nigel and I had a conversation. Catherine sat down and asked, what did he say? Tell me what he said. Amir said, he loved you, Kat. You know that. He spent his whole life running from the sins of his father. He did everything he could not to be just like him. And when you couldn't have his children, it broke something in him. He couldn't take his heart back. So he took as much of himself away from you as he could. And he couldn't give those parts to any other woman fully either. Those women were distractions. And the only thing that made life worth living was having you to come home to. When you told him that you would stay, you'd hold him down, you'd hold the organization down. But he could never have you in that way again. He accepted it, but not because he didn't want you in that way. He accepted it because he could see you were happy, and you hadn't been for a long, long time. Catherine said, don't make me ask you again, Amir. What did he say? Amir said, he said that if he'd found with another woman what you'd found with me, he would have divorced you. And the only reason he wasn't going to kill us both was because it would mean he would be losing us both. And then Catherine said, when everybody leaves tonight, I need you to come back and stay with me just for the night. When the family and all of the heads convened together for the reading of Nigel's will, there were no surprises. He left everything that he owned to his wife, Catherine, with the caveat that she dispersed items that they discussed to his nieces and nephews, items that he did not disclose. And when the video was played, he started it off by saying, well, if you're watching this damn video, that means my ass is dead. Ain't that bout up? And everybody burst out laughing. Nah, but for real, I really hope I went out in the field busting my gun, not doing something that would bring shame and embarrassment to you, twin. By now, you and everybody watching this video knows just what kind of man I really was. If for some reason this is the first video that you're seeing after my death, then stop right here and call Amir or my lawyer, because they got another video just for you, twin. I want this video to catch you by surprise. Everybody looked at Catherine and she said, I've seen the video. Then, after a brief pause, Nigel said, all right, if you're watching this video still, then the coast is clear. So by now, everybody knows that I got 5 bastard children. The whole room gasped. He said, nah, I love them. Hopefully, they're here watching this video too. If I know my wife like I think I do, she ain't leave them out. Kids, don't be mad at your stepmama for not letting y'all come to my funeral. That's not the time or the place to reveal dirty little secrets. And yes, your existence was my dirty little secret, but you are not. And you probably thinking after hearing the reading of my will that I ain't give a damn about you. But the truth is I made enough mistakes to know that the only way I was going to live to this big age is if I did what was best for my marriage. And therefore, I would be doing what was best for y'all. Don't be mad at your mother or at my wife. They both did the best they could with what they had. And I was a damn handful. I could have left you money and property, but I figured I'd do you one better. I gave you skills, the best parts of me, shielded you from things that you couldn't have understood. And now, I'm leaving you in Catherine's hands. And those are the best hands you could ever be in. I hate that you didn't get to grow up knowing her. She's one of the best women I've ever known in my life. Talk to her. Get to know her. Let her tell you my life story from her point of view. And maybe you'll understand how we all got here. My father was a son of a gun. and I turned out to be a whole lot like him. But unlike him, I ain't never run from none of my responsibilities or pawned them off on nobody else. I had my father my whole life, and I still had to get it how I live. And I wasn't a perfect man, but it made me a better one. So yeah, y'all gotta get it how y'all live. And before y'all lie to yourselves, I ain't owe y'all a damn thing. I had a responsibility, and I fulfilled it. Y'all grown. Ain't none of y'all been to jail. Y'all ain't never had to visit me in one. You ain't never been in no compromising positions. And you ain't had to go without nothing. And if you listen to Catherine and do whatever it is that she asks of you, you'll never have to go another day of your life without anything either. In the coming days, weeks, months, you're gonna have some hard decisions to make. And if you smart, you'll make the right ones. And if you don't, you more like your mama than I thought. I left my wife everything because she deserves it. Don't get no bright ideas. You try to hurt her, you might as well hurt yourself. Twin, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I even put you in this position. You already know how I feel. I put it on that video for you. But I want everybody listening to this to hear me say, you didn't deserve to be saddled. You deserved the best of me. I tried to give it to you. Best I can give you now is freedom. You are free to be fully happy now. Just don't embarrass me. I'm not nearly as honorable as my brother Andy was. You can't marry that nigga. Everybody in the room was like, oh, wait a minute, who, what? And Catherine said, mind your business. Art, I love you, bro. I'm sorry. I should have protected you. I tried to, though. I'm gonna leave it at that. And Art just broke down crying. Because he knew that Nigel was talking about his father arranging that rendezvous with him in India. And the possibility that Jeff could have been his son. Then Nigel said, Manny, Samuel, Idra, my niggas. It's been one hell of a ride. And I couldn't have picked better brothers to take that ride with. Queen B, best to ever do it. Twin, don't be mad at them. They were never involved in any of my shenanigans. And they all made it painfully clear how they felt about how I got down. And no, they didn't know about my children. Heads, I'm gonna have to ask y'all for another favor. There isn't another person in this world who knows the St. James business like I know the St. James business other than my wife. Absent another willing participant, she should occupy my seat until another appropriate, competent, well-trained replacement can be identified. My brother Andy's wishes should be honored unless one of his sons is willing to voluntarily sit in my seat. And the whole room was in an uproar. Manny said, Twin, you down? Idris said, I don't know how many unmarried queen pins we gonna be able to handle. Samuel said, I don't get a vote. Q said, I don't even want the job, but I'm not letting my Aunt Catherine do that. And when Sincere went to say that he'd do it, Catherine grabbed his arm and squeezed. The Queen Mother said, that sounds like being willing to me, Q. And Angela said, to me too. And Big Wood just shook his head. And True stepped out of the room because she had a phone call to make.